Welcome back to Building the Pride. I'm your host, Drew, and I'm joined as always, by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Drew. How about yourself?
Doing better. Smiled and laughed more this last 4 or 5 days than I have in a minute, so that was good.
That is good.
Probably the weather, seeing the blue sky for a minute. And you know what? I'm gonna share a real personal detail about
Yeah.
myself. I know no one can tell because I have a hat on, but I got a haircut and my mood will go from like grumpy bitch to like happy bitch in like real fast when I get a haircut. So like I go in, get the haircut, get the beard evened out, get the hot towel on my face, shampoo. They shampoo your head for like 5 minutes, feels great. Go
It's like a
home.
massage, right?
Oh, man pampering. How I think of it. And I feel good for days after it. Oh, hey, what's up, Donkey Kong?
DK.
He's in the house. Here we go. Donkey Kong,
Yeah.
you got any questions or things you want to talk about this afternoon or evening? I suppose we should say it is 7 o'clock, even though I guess the sun is going down. But
Right.
we got
Yeah.
news.
A quick story. Last night, I went to bed a little bit early. So we've got an invisible fence, right? And Rosie, our younger dog, her collar, the battery was dead. So she went from the backyard to the front, which she shouldn't be able to do. And that's how I figured out the battery was dead. Xavier is our older dog. He knows what the little beeps are when the collar goes off. So I go to replace her battery, and I kind of wave it and make sure it triggers. Yep, cool, everything's working now. He hears the beep and goes hiding in my closet. I don't know that. So I'm in bed, and Rosie was on the bed, and I go to bed early last night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I hear like a bark, and I'm like, I look over, and Rosie's just dead asleep. I'm like, that's weird. Maybe I just dreamed it. And about 15 minutes later, I hear kind of another yip or a bark again. I'm like, what is going on? I look over, Rosie's looking at me. I'm like, maybe it was her. So I get up and I go to let her out. It's 2:15 in the morning. I go back to the bed. I'm like, you know what? Since I'm up, I might as well hit the bathroom real quick myself. I open the door to our bathroom and Xavier comes out. He had been locked in the bathroom in the closet area all night long. He pooped on the tile floor in the bathroom because I didn't know he was stuck there. So 2:30 in the morning, I'm cleaning up poop in the bathroom on my hands and knees, cleaning that up. My 2 to 3 a.m. was very long, and it's been a morning, I tell you. Whew.
Sure.
So those old dogs, they get you. So, but other than that, it's been a great day.
How amazing Brad is. How lucky we are to have Brad making dynasty moves. Okay, deal. Here we go. But before we do that, Mike, take us around the NFL.
Around the NFL, so a couple big things happened. Number one, the Cincinnati Bengals threw a lot of money at their top two wide receivers. Jamar Chase got 4 years, 161 million or something like that. And T. Higgins got was it 4 years? Oh man, where'd it go? Where'd it go?
I'm after it too.
Year after it too. All right,
T.
so
Higgins is not up
four
on the
years,
league
one
yet.
15.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamar Chase got 4 years, 161. So that was a lot of money. Resets the wide receiver market. And I don't know if this is where Donkey Kong's talking about Brad. You remember John Hirsch? He drafted with us, and he was the Bengals fan. We were talking. He's like,
I do remember
this
him.
is what happens when you wait too long to sign your players. And
Mm-hmm.
this is why Brad is like, as soon as he gets the opportunity, he signs those guys because St. Brown's at what, 30 million?
Yep.
Dude, like that's that's a 25% discount over what Jamar Chase got. So that was pretty awesome.
I'm Jamar Chase. See if I can get this.
So those were the big moves. The moves that haven't happened yet is where's Aaron Rodgers going to go and be toxic next?
Right. Well,
All
Did you
signs point
see?
to Pittsburgh, maybe.
Did you see though that Cameron Hayward on Pittsburgh was like, "Make up your damn mind, Aaron. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going on a darkness retreat with you, dude. Like, you want to the sales pitch is playing in Pittsburgh. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
You know. So doesn't seem like it's all going to be daffodils and lemonades if he decides to sign with Pittsburgh.
I don't know too many folks that just absolutely really want him around.
Well, it's getting interesting because there's like 4 teams that are completely unknowns at quarterback. Cleveland, Tennessee, even though it's likely they probably draft Cam Ward at the top of the draft, Pittsburgh, and the Giants. So some of those guys only have one quarterback. Kenny Two Gloves and Brandon Allen are the only 2 quarterbacks on the Browns. They've had Russell Wilson tour the facility or whatever, have him in for like coffee and turkey club or whatever, but then he left and didn't sign. So the only two free agent quarterbacks worth their salt, presumably right now, are Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, and no one knows where either one of them are going to sign. So
I heard Minnesota was potential landing spot for Rodgers as a 1-year mentor type person for JJ McCarthy. I don't see it.
Yeah,
but we'll see. Those were the big ones. I can't think of too much that's going on. The Lions picked up a couple guys.
Yep, they re-signed Shane Zylstra. They brought who else? They brought back. They brought back
Skipper,
Dan Skipper. Who's Craig Reynolds? They brought back.
Onwuzurike, I think happened after our last conversation.
Yep. Pat O'Connor.
We signed Roy Lopez, the defensive tackle, to a 1-year, $4.65 million. He's a depth guy, right?
Yeah, Grant Stewart is going to be the new Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Primarily special teams linebacker, but apparently will push to be a backup. Will linebacker behind Anzalone as long as Rodrigo is injured. So I'm trying to look at Detroit's roster because I think we have 60. Over the cap has us at 65 players, but I believe one of them, either O'Connor or Zylstra, is not on the list. So, we also signed Kenny Yeboah, tight end from the Jets. He's going to be a 4th string guy. That's fine.
Yeah. From what I understand, he's a pretty solid blocking tight end. So
yeah, good. Just what we needed. I mean, like as far as like that position, that for that depth range, that's great.
Yeah.
Happy to have him on board.
And he wasn't expensive. So
no. And that's just it. So like I'm looking at the Lions right now. Over the cap has us at $49.5 million, which has us at sitting at 5th spot in the NFL by, I don't know, a little bit. You know, we're still $50 million behind the Patriots or whatever, but you know, the Lions are going, so people have been very, good call. Kyle Allen. I haven't heard of so I've heard a couple people say he's not going to push Hendon Hooker for the backup role. He's going to push Jake Fromm for the practice squad role. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
What was I got distracted. The thing that I think that isn't being discussed right now about the Lions and how they're approaching this year's free agency is how much worse our cap looks like in 2026, basically 365 days from now.
Right.
because the extensions on the 21 draftees, Penei Sewell, Ali McNeil, they all kick in on their big years. So the cap, like we have 49 right now, that's going to go down by like $27 million. So I think Brad is trying to save as much cap space as he can this year to roll over to give himself some breathing room in 26. And then after 26, it should get better. You'll be past the first big year of cap hits and guaranteed money off the 21 guys. And we don't have the 22 guys extended yet. So we don't know what a contract for Aiden, Kirby, possibly Jameson Williams, possibly Josh Paschal looks like. I mean, I'm assuming Jameson Williams and Josh Paschal are going to be, we'd like to have you with this number type of deals, as opposed to Kirby and Hutch, who are probably going to get like your top 5 at your position money. So, well, I think I think he's close. I like this attitude way more than most people and their attitude.
So this I found super interesting. In the draft since 1921, good lord, 2021, it's for the last 104 years. Now, since 2021, the value provided in the draft is the Lions way higher than anybody else in the league, like heads and tails. Brad has been drafting quality players, quality impact players at a higher rate than anybody in the league, and it's not even close. So I think this is probably where Donkey Kong is going, is like, just let Brad cook. He's finding people. He's hitting on the first rounders, which you have to do, but it's still harder than it sounds. And you have to hit on those second, third, fourth, those kind of mid-rounders as well. And he's finding diamonds in the rough everywhere. Not everything's perfect. Every pick hasn't been lights out, and the detractors will like, what about that guy? I'm like, all right, cool. There's one of the last 15 top 3 rounders that he picked. What about the other 14? Like, most of those guys are hitting, right? So
yeah, how many other teams are hitting on people outside of day 2? Like the thing about the Lions, maybe next week, Mike, we just go through the you won't be here, so I can do whatever I want, right?
That's true.
So maybe next week I'll just go through Brad's draft classes and we'll just get an update on where all those picks are, because I mean, some of them still aren't on the team anymore. I mean, that's fine. Like James Mitchell, Jamar Jefferson, those guys aren't around anymore. But most of the guys are, so like a couple, I mean, I know everyone loves Brad Holmes. I do too. And they think that he's infallible. But so what I'm going to say next, I don't want to have a bunch of negativity thrown back at me. Penei Sewell was not supposed to be there at 7 in 2021. Aiden Hutchinson was not supposed to be there at 2 in 2022. So like, he made good decisions.
Yep. But
he has also had a bit of luck, because prospects, elite prospects, were not supposed to. Yeah, we did. We're not supposed to be at those picks when he had them, and he was at least smart enough to say, those guys aren't supposed to be here. I'll take them.
Yeah.
Penei Sewell can play on my football team. That's cool. He's what, 19? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So much the better, So not to say that he's not skillful. He's amazingly skillful. And like, the proof of that is you just re-signed Derek Barnes in the year before, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who were 4th round picks, And so, I mean, I could understand a 4th round pick getting re-signed with the kind of impact that Derek Barnes has for teams in the NFL, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, like when you find
top 7 wide receiver
easily. So I
possibly top 5. There's
2-time All-Pro.
Outside of a couple people, there. I think Chase and Jefferson are 1 and 2, and I think most people would put them there. But 3 through like 9, people can have that in almost any order they want. There's a group of guys in that 3 through 9 that are interchangeably amazing. So, and he's in that group. So I could see someone putting him at 3. I could see someone putting him at 6, 7, 8, maybe. I can't imagine him at 9, but there are a bunch of guys in there that are really good. He's in that group, and he was a 4th rounder, and which is it's probably part of the reason why this is such a very tall Lions part of the chart. There is you're hitting those guys in the 4th round that matter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take away too much from probably what I'll talk about next week, but I mean, like, it's that line is so high because, like, you haven't missed on a 1st-round pick, and like your 2nd and 3rd round picks have been primarily starters who have had starting roles on the team, and then you are getting valuable contributions, not every year, but certainly more than 1 year's worth of day 3 guys. Rodrigo, James Houston played on the team for half a season and was remarkably productive, and you got Barnes and St. Brown. Like, people forget, like, Ali McNeil was a 3rd round pick. Onwuzurike was the 2nd round pick. So, like, and none of these moves that Brad has made has broken the bank. He spent 16 a year on Reed and 8.5 a year on Barnes. And didn't he give somebody else like an 8.5 year price tag?
This year,
offseason. Who?
I was asking if you're talking about this year, because Angeloni was right around the 8 or 9.
Yeah, this year, this offseason. I was wondering, did he hand out another? I don't think so.
Anybody that was that high.
So I heard people talking about Onwuzurike saying like he was going to be worth 15, 16 million bucks a year coming off of the year that he had. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, maybe. If they're convinced that
5.5.
Yeah, like if you're convinced that he's healthy from this point forward and going to be as productive, even if he switches teams, he could be worth, the best version of him might be worth $15 million a year. And Brad brought him back on a 1-year, 5.5 deal. That the cap hit's probably a lot less than 5.5. Like Davenport got like $4 million. Tim Patrick got like $4 million, but their cap hits aren't going to be $4 million. They're going to be closer to 1 or 2. So he's bringing back the guys that, proved themselves through the attrition last year at cheap deals. But the roster, I think a lot of people want starter caliber players on the Lions for whatever reason to be the 2nd and 3rd options, at that at that spot. And I'm like, I guess you could do that. And if he keeps drafting this well, it will happen eventually.
Right.
But
until the re-signing time comes, you can't afford to keep that. We already talked about, maybe we should do that at some point this offseason, is kind of update that top 10 at each position list, and kind of talk about, like, this is why you can't have the highest paid at all the positions. So we'll do that as an exercise this summer. Before we leave the news and notes, there was one other signing. Not that. Give me 1 second here to do. Right here. Derek Stingley was signed to a 3-year, $90 million extension by the Texans. The thing that cracked me up about this, the quarterback market got completely reset, which was awesome for those guys. And we've already got our number 1 receiver, cornerback right now, which we brought in as a free agent. And Terrion Arnold isn't going to be signing an extension for a couple years. So fine, just reset it now. Don't care.
When I saw this, I thought, wow, because
Sauce is going, ooh, yeah.
Jalen Ramsey and Patrick Surtain were sitting around like 24, 25. And And Houston just why would Houston go, okay, we'll go 5 million a year over the top of the market. Like, then I thought there's going to be, I mean, you just said I'm like Sauce Gardner. There's going to be other corners at the top of the market who are going to be up for extensions. And now the cornerback market is a $30 a year market.
Yep.
Last year was like, you saw L'Jarius Sneed be traded from Kansas City to Tennessee and sign a 19 a year. You saw Jalen Johnson in Chicago. That's his name, right? He got 19 a year. So he gets 30. So he's almost worth 2 of them. So
he's almost being paid 2 of them.
So here's my thing. Terrian's up for an extension. It's certainly not been proven yet that he's the top of the market corner, but for hypothetically, let's just say that he is. 2 years from now, he's eligible for a contract extension. The cap might be at that point $30 to $40 million more than it is right now.
Yep.
But I mean,
so
he won't be asking for 30. You know, so like when I see one of these markets, one of these position groups get pushed up, I think of how it's going to affect the Lions on their timeline. And I'm thinking, because now I'm thinking like, who's eventually Brad's going to have to not sign people to top of the market deals. So who are those guys going to be? And some of these position groups might just get priced out because in 2 years, paying DJ Reed in the last year of his deal or whatever at 14 or 16 million bucks is going to look like you're paying him 50%, of the top of the market money. And he's, if he's like the 9th best cornerback in the league at point, like it's going to be an absolute steal of a deal.
Yeah.
But you won't be able to do that with rookies. Like guys on rookie contracts, like they're going to want to get near top of the market money. So I'm looking at free agency to see who is pushing the market higher.
Yeah.
And
the thing that cracks me up,
the 89.
Yeah. So I kind of had this feeling like they went, I'm sorry, our policy is we don't fully guarantee deals. Look at what happened to Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, and his agent goes, hey, what if we did just 89? You smart bastard, let's do it. Like we got by our policy. I don't know what is the point of $89 million out of 90 guaranteed. I don't understand that at all.
The only thing that I can come up with, and remember I've said that's the only thing I can come up with, is so the Houston Chronicle or whatever their newspaper is cannot say Houston Texans re-sign player X to fully guaranteed contract.
Yeah.
Because I think what NFL owners want to avoid since the Deshaun Watson debacle is they don't want players setting precedents for fully guaranteed deals. Here's the thing about this contract. It's 3 years.
Yeah.
So he's back on the market, lickety split. Like he's going to be able to get another top shelf contract on his timeline if he stays healthy. So his next deal,
big deals.
Yeah. Like
keep the money flowing.
If you look at the way Detroit is extending people, like the pillars of the team are getting 4-year deals and everyone else is getting 3 or less.
Yep.
So
many of them are just 1-year deals.
Well, they're not. I mean, that's just roster turnover. But like when you look at like who Brad is sinking money into, like if it is 3 years or less, you are not a pillar of the team.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Roy Lopez, Levi, their 1 year, Davenport's 1 year, Tim Patrick's 1 year. Who else we got here? Derek Barnes is 3 years, with only 16 of the 26 million guaranteed. So basically, 2 of 3 years are guaranteed.
Right.
So yeah. Well,
So I
that's
mean,
kind of the news and notes around the NFL. I don't think there's a ton else going on unless I forgot something.
no, I don't think so. So what we're going to talk about today, and Hatters, I will do a mock draft for you. Whether or not Mike is involved, I don't know, but I will do a mock draft for you if you stick with me till the end, buddy. Let me share my screen because I want to talk about what the 90-man roster might look like this year. And so you'll be there. Oh, that a boy.
Right on.
That a boy. Okay. So Eric Schlitt at Pride of Detroit, I'm a disciple. Okay. What the guy says makes sense to me. So I read what he says. And the fourth is today. Yeah. So why do I like Eric Schlitt? I'll tell you, because the dude tracks data. He tracks the trends. Like if there's anyone who's figuring out Brad Holmes to the extent that one can figure out Brad Holmes, it's this guy, in my opinion. So when he puts out an article about like what our 90-man roster might look like, and he's followed the trends that Brad has used over his fifth offseason in Detroit.
Yes.
So because he had that first offseason before the 13-1 season.
Yep.
So why do I care about this kind of stuff? I'll tell you, because it affects what I think about the draft. Okay. So like we are going to balloon up to 90 after the draft. So if we can track what the trend looks like after something that's yet to come is going to happen, we can kind of help figure out what the draft might look like for us. Burning the candle at both ends. Okay. So let's just jump in. We'll get your thoughts along the way too. Okay.
Right on.
All right. Quarterback, 4 under contract. I would argue that they have obviously their starter in Goff, obviously the backup in Hendon Hooker. They have Jake Fromm as their practice squad QB, and they just signed Kyle Allen. And a lot of people have speculated that he's going to push Hooker, but I don't think that's the case. And neither does Eric Schlitt. I think that he's probably here to push for the practice squad role. And if he does
QB3 on game day, right?
Right. Exactly. So Goff is the entrenched starter who's been extended. There's no controversy. 4 under contract. I don't think they're bringing in another guy. I don't think they're drafting a guy. So QB, all done. Don't need to worry about it. Running back. You know what I do, Mike? I always do this. I never do what I yell at you to do.
I asked you to zoom in, but you were talking and you didn't hear, and that's okay.
Is that happening? All right.
Yeah, that's all right.
Running back. We've got the two big ends, right? We've got Montgomery and Gibbs Montgomery, however you want to think about those guys. Then we've got Craig Reynolds, who we just re-signed, and Vaki. There's your 4. So depth, right? So they did not extend a futures contract to Jamar Jefferson, which basically made him an unrestricted practice squatter, for lack of a better term. Street free agent is what they call it. So, and it looks like by not assigning him to that type of contract, street free agent contract, that they're saying good luck in your future endeavors. Now, this was a 2021 draft pick. He's been on the team in some capacity 3 years. He's played in some regular season games, mostly preseason, mostly a practice squatter. So bring in 2 UDFA running backs who do specialized things like a goal line guy or like a fullback type, that type of thing, and see where we stand. But I don't think it affects the draft, and I don't think we're going to sign one in free agency. No. What about you, Mike? Would you bring in anyone else to compete in that room?
We've got 2 guys, both of which have had relatively little in the way of injuries. not completely injury free. They get pounded as running backs, but they're injury free enough that I think if one goes down, the other can handle the load. I just don't see us spending any more money on anything in free agency. If we draft a running back, it's going to be like sixth. It's going to be like a sixth or seventh rounder. That, wow, I'm surprised he didn't go in the third. One of
Right.
those kind of deals, right? But otherwise, they'll just find somebody off the street or practice squad and just call it good.
Okay, wide receiver. This is like the first area where there's, I think, an actual need on the team. So we re-signed Tim Patrick. He is what the Lions want to do. He's 6'4", 210, 215, willing blocker. He's not going to get a lion's share of targets.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. Hey, what's up, Joseph?
What's up, Joseph?
Good evening to you, sir. Tip of the hat. So he's just there to do dirty work and earn a check, and but like that kind of thing is going to help the Lions in a multitude of ways. So especially in the running game. So you re-sign him, he's on the roster for the year. Brad loves to have an established veteran play and bring in a rookie to quote unquote understudy, for a year or potentially 2 years, and then step into that role, right? We've seen that time and time again up and down the roster. So could the Lions address the wide receiver X position in the draft? My answer, yeah. And like, where are we going to do it? Pick 60, round 2. I think there's going to be 2 or 3 options there that the Lions would really, really like. But Eric also thinks wide receiver 5 and 6 could be up for competitive roles, and then bringing in 4 guys for depth. So,
do you see us grabbing Stephon Diggs? He's still sitting out there, right? We've got cap room.
I don't think he's the kind of player the Lions want in 2 different ways. I don't know that they want what he does well as a skill set. Like they have guys that run over the middle of the field. Laporta, St. Brown, even JMO. Like Jared Goff likes to throw in routes.
Yep.
So they have already addressed the thing that Stephon Diggs, I think, does well. They have that. And then I don't think that he's a culture fit. He can be a little bit about me, little diva in him, maybe. So good player. I just don't think that the role. He's a round peg in a square hole for Detroit, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm just kind of thinking of some of the other free agents that might be a fit. Would a guy like Keenan Allen? He's still out there.
Keenan Allen is. I would love to add a Keenan Allen if my roster was full of young wide receivers.
Yeah.
So like the fit that I like for Keenan Allen is Jacksonville. So like,
yeah.
I think that he had. I mean, so when the Bears played the Lions last year, he absolutely cooked whoever was playing nickel. I think it was Amik in that game, because he basically was like, I'm going to look over here. Oh, you totally bit. My whole body's moving this way, and all I had to do was look over here and totally fake you out. He was so open; it was amazing. Like he's been one of the best slot receivers in the NFL for a decade.
Yeah.
I would love to have a guy like that, but like, where does he play?
Behind Saint?
I mean, if he's willing to come in and be like a
wide receiver 4, essentially, right?
Red zone slot receiver kind of guy, sure. Yeah. I'm happy to have him.
Because who do we? So we've got Saint as number 1.
Yep.
JMO is number 2.
What happened?
So the white screen kind of blanked my mind as well. So Saint, you got JMO, Patrick, I guess is wide receiver 3, right?
Well, I mean, like I guess it depends on how you want to talk about Do we want to talk about wide receivers, or do we want to talk about pass catchers?
Specifically wide receivers. Because
So
I know Laporta is essentially like a slot receiver, type of position at tight end. I'm just thinking, is that a spot for him over a Khalif Raymond or whoever else is in that wide receiver 4 category?
I don't think so, but the only reason I think that is that the Lions seem to be basing depth along Tom Kennedy. That's hilarious. They seem to be assigning like their depth and in their different rooms based upon like who can replicate what particular talent or trait they're looking for. So like I think I have always seen it as like JMO is your wide receiver Z, and then Khalif Raymond is his backup because they're the fastest wide receivers on the team.
Right.
And then, you
Z1
have
and Z2.
Right.
Slot 1, slot 2.
Right, exactly. And so like who on the roster fits into those slots, and then within those slots, who is the most talented, who have you dedicated the most money to, who are, obviously St. Brown is a pillar of the team, right? Like Tom Kennedy, or if you draft some rookie in the 6th round, like he's not beating out St. Brown unless there's an injury or something like that.
Right.
So, I think that they have what they want to accompany Jared Goff, which is that St. Brown works the middle, Laporta works the middle. JMO's your guy that's like, if you do not respect the fact that I have like Olympic track star speed, I will run past you. And Jared Goff, if he can set his back foot, can on his best throw get the ball to me, and we're going to connect on 1 and 2, 1 and 3 of those passes, and when we do connect, you're fucked.
Right.
So I mean, like, they have to respect that, and I should also say the entirety. If you ever hear the term Vic Fangio defense, the whole premise of Vic Fangio's defense is that people like Jameson Williams do not run past you.
Yeah.
Like they do not get over the top. It is to keep everything in front of you. So like, yeah. So Donkey Kong's going to watch the draft and just have a bourbon and just put his feet up, like just be cool about it. I love it. Yeah.
He'll watch us watching the draft.
Oh, I cannot wait.
As we do our,
we took the whole week off this year. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, I'm not going to Green Bay. I mean, hell with that. But like, so when it comes to this wide receiver room, like my expectation is the Lions will address, if the board falls this way, they will address wide receiver probably at some point on day 2, whether that's at 60 or moving up and down the board, and then look to add some piece maybe on day 3, potentially, and then adding UDFAs or potential free agent signings. You live in Green Bay. Oh, you're going to go to the draft. That's cool. That's fun.
Dude, that will be awesome.
That is fun.
So, of looking at Keenan's cap hit in his salary the last couple of years, he made $18 million last year.
Yeah.
The previous year was $1 million. Was the base salary, and then $11 million from a guaranteed bonus or prorated bonus. So we'll just call that 12. Before that, it was 16, 5, 13, and then basically 7.5 for the previous 3 years. So now that he's kind of on the downside of his career age and performance-wise, if we could get him for 8 to 10, do we do it?
I think that's twice as much as they're willing to pay for somebody coming in off of the free agency wire. So like they just gave a starter in Tim Patrick $4 million, right?
Yeah, but this guy's better than Tim Patrick.
But he's not going to play. Tim Patrick's going to start. If you sign Keenan Allen, Tim Patrick is starting over Keenan Allen. Because Tim Patrick does
just because of the skill set, right?
Right, because Tim Patrick does something the Lions have identified they want in their offense, and Keenan Allen does not. And the only reason Keenan Allen does not is because they have an all-pro version of what Keenan Allen does. He just happens to be 7 inches shorter. So I mean, like,
that's a lot of inches.
It's a lot, I mean, like, but they basically do the same thing, but it's just like their version of Keenan Allen is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right. I'm just
So they
wondering,
don't,
is he a depth piece that can replace multiple people? Because he's a fast dude still.
not anymore.
He's not track star fast, but is he just fast as Khalif?
Keenan Allen's nowhere near as fast as Khalif Raymond.
No.
Never has been.
I just wonder if he, being a big guy, he can go up and catch the balls just like Tim Patrick can. He can run the slot like St. Brown can. He can't take the top off quite as much as what JMO does, and obviously what Khalif does. But I wonder if he is versatile enough where he can cover any of those three positions if we needed him to. And we don't really have, like, Khalif can't really cover those three positions at the level that a guy like Allen could do. That's the only reason I was thinking maybe he might still be a target for them. And maybe that price has to come down. Maybe it's closer to like, hey, I need you at 8 million. I need you at 6.5.
Well, I mean, I know it's a different position, but like they just refused to re-sign Ife Melifonwu for $4 million, right? Like, so we know what their price point is for safety 3. You know, so like what is
wide
the price point on like wide receiver 4 or 5? Like,
yeah,
I doubt it's $8 million. I mean, like maybe it is depending on the person.
Yeah,
but if Amari Cooper was going to say like, hey, I'll sign for 6.5 to play for Detroit, like maybe. I keep waiting for the Lions to be like to do something that's like outside the box, but they don't seem to want to do that.
Yeah, they're pretty. This is our strategy, and we're sticking to it.
Yep. So I know you can't see it anymore, but tight end is just above the paragraph at the top of this page. They re-signed Shane Zylstra. They signed a guy named Kenny Yeboah from the Jets. They went into last year with four tight ends. They have 4 tight ends on the roster. So I don't think that there's another free agency signing coming. I don't think there's a UDFA coming. Maybe one UDFA, but I don't think they draft a guy. So I think that
I agree
that whole room is set. But this is where we could actually start getting into some pretty cool discussions. Offensive tackle. You have Taylor Decker, and Penei Sewell as your bookends, right? You have Dan Skipper as your third tackle, and then your backup tackles are guys like Corby Sorsdal on the right side. I mean, obviously, like Skipper will play in place of Decker if the need were to arise, and you have a developmental tackle in Gio on the roster. I mean, I don't see much of a need at tackle at all.
And we got Decker under contract. He's got guaranteed salary through 2026. Through 2025. Starting in 2026, he has 0 guaranteed. So we've got him this year and next, right?
Yeah. I keep hearing that, like, what happens at 28? What if the Chiefs call and say, we'll give you our one, we'll switch picks with you this year, and we'll give you our one next year for Decker. And I'm like, that's not happening.
That's intriguing, though, right? So, like, how ready is a guy like Manu, or like Skipper is not ready? He's not a starter, right? He's not the guy.
He's nothing more than what he is, right?
Right. So if we haven't picked at 26 yet, and that offer's on the table for next year's first, wow, that is an intriguing idea. I wouldn't flat out tell him no.
I think that could happen if there was something like Josh Connerly from Oregon is still on the board at 26 or 31 or wherever the Chiefs are picking. And you're not going to know that if you're the Lions and you trade out, because there's like a 5-pick difference between where they're picking and where you're picking. But like, if there was 2 starter level left tackles, which there could be, at the bottom half of the first round. Here's the thing. I still don't think the Lions are going to do that. The Lions feel like they're all about continuity, and like they certainly feel like their offensive line is the key engine of the offense. So I don't know that they're going to mess with the continuity of it all that much,
Yeah.
but like at some point, Taylor Decker, the guaranteed money runs out. You're in your mid 30s. There's going to have to be a transition. So we'll have to just wait and see.
There's 11 million and almost 12 million in cap savings if we cut him after 2025.
Yeah. So, but the interior is a different story. So obviously, Kevin Zeitler, wish you well in Tennessee. Apparently has family down there. 1 year, $9 million. That's right on that's a bullseye from what websites like Spotrac and PFF were saying he was worth on the open market. Doesn't make any sense. He was third-rated guard last year. Figured to be worth a lot more. But he's not in Detroit this year. It was a one and done. Thank you very much. I'm on my way out kind of a situation. So to me, Christian Mahogany, welcome to right guard. So if that's the case, if that was the case, and he's penciled in as the starter, which he probably is, then your depth at guard is now suspect, right? Like Graham Glasgow didn't have the best year last year. He's very versatile. He's probably the best swing offensive lineman in the NFL if he was like the sixth guy, playing behind somebody. So if Tyler Booker
he
from
can play
Alabama,
any position if he needs to, right?
Right. Left to right tackle, he could play that. So if somebody like Tyler Booker from Alabama is at 26, I think the Lions could just draft him and just play him at left guard. And then you have 2 rookie contract guards, and Graham Glasgow is probably your day one starter, maybe your day one starter, certainly your number one backup.
Yep.
Then you have guys like Coyote Awashika, who's still not re-signed to the roster. I mean, you have guys like Netani Moody, who was hurt all of last year, but apparently the Lions really like him. Man, who can't even play one position yet. Well, I mean, like, here's the thing.
He's working on it.
All of the stuff that I've heard about Giovanni Manu coming into this year after the season ended is how well he is progressing. So, like, I'm wondering if this year he's in for skipper on a lot of like the special teams alignments, that type of thing, just to get him some on the field snaps, see if he can take over that stuff. And then next year he would be in skipper's role. And then if he does well, then you have to make a decision like, can we roll with this guy if Decker is off the roster? Can Gio step into the left tackle role? I mean, that's what they're trying to figure out. Like, here is this 6'8", 350-pound behemoth. Can we turn him into a real boy? So we differ here, Donkey Kong. Broderick Martin is progressing nowhere. That dude is like a stone in a river as far as like the amount of progression I've seen out of him. I hated it. I hated it on the trade up in the third round because we paid so much to go get him. I hated that he took his first year off, and I hated that he was hurt last year and couldn't develop. And it just seems like a failure from start to finish at this point. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong. I just don't think that I am. So
he's been one of the guys that is continuously pointed at when it comes to the failures in the draft kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only one people are pointing at that are on the top ones. The first round, second round kind of guys.
So Joseph says Marcus Mabo in the second round. If he's there, which he probably will be, I would be surprised. He's primarily, I think, a center in the NFL, but he can certainly play any of the interior spots. So if you were looking for, it does happen. If you were looking for a primary backup with starter potential, I think that Mabo could be a very good pick. Sorry, my eye seems to be watering, so I look weird. What is that all about? Okay. So this is a spot that I've had some arguments with people on the internet about, weirdly. Interior defensive line. So let's go through who we have right now. So we have McNeil's hurt. Wingo is hurt. Those are your 1 and number 3 techniques. So your pass rushing defensive tackles. Those two guys are out with ACLs.
Right.
Don't know when they're going to come back yet. Probably wouldn't be till near the start of the season. Anyways, I'm betting that both end up on the injury list for the first 4 weeks of the season. That's my guess right now. So they re-signed Levine Wuzurike. Okay, he's a 3 technique. Hope he doesn't get hurt. And then they have re-signed Pat O'Connor. Now he's primarily a backup to DJ Reader. But I think that he's shown enough that if you want to go big, he can eat some number of snaps at 3 tech in certain packages. So Eric here seems to think that we only really need to draft on the interior defensive line for the future. You've re-signed McNeil. DJ Reader's in the first year of his deal. So it appears that nose tackle, some kind of successor to DJ Reader, would be in the cards for the Lions. There is a guy, and don't make fun of me, there is a guy that if he fell to, which I think is almost no chance, but if he fell to the Lions at 26, they should snap him up, and that's Kenneth Grant from Michigan. He'd be a way more athletic version of DJ Reader. But I cannot figure out
fall to him.
Well, I cannot figure out a way to get him past Atlanta and Arizona back-to-back picks like 16, 17 or whatever it is, 15, 16 in the draft. I mean, Atlanta cut Grady Jarrett. He got snapped up by the Bears. And I mean, Kenneth Grant is more of a nose tackle than he is playing either side of like a 3-man front. But he can play those. Yeah. Yeah, you could.
Trade,
I mean, like,
you think they will? I mean, he's done that before. He traded up to get JMO right in the first round, and there were a few trades up and back to get guys like Laporta and some of those guys. I think, and they traded up to get. They did a couple trade ups last year. Was it Manu that they traded up for?
Well, they traded picks in future years for Giovanni Manu and Sione Vaki.
Yeah.
So they're more than willing to do it.
Yeah. And they've showed that they do it in the first round as well if the guy that they're looking for is there. So I could see that.
So if there's somebody like Derek Harmon or Walter Nolan, who may not be there, sitting here at 26 for the Lions, I could see that as drafting for the future. But here's the thing, like, you have a Lee McNeil. Like, if you're going to invest the 26th pick in the draft on a future interior defensive lineman, that's a starter. I mean, like, I love the idea of having like a Derek Harmon who's from Michigan, or Walter Nolan, who was like the number 1 high school recruit in the country, like in 2022 or whatever. But having those guys in Detroit, but then what happens to their playing time when McNeil's healthy? You know, so like that's the thing that I'm concerned about. Right. Is that, like, I guess like the way to look at it is you're only paying those guys like $7 million a year on their rookie deal, so who cares? And then if the contracts run out, like McNeil's extension runs out, rookie contract runs out, do you just let McNeil walk, into his 3rd contract on the open market, and that's your compensatory pick program, and you just replace him with the next guy? I mean, like that. Next guy up kind of a thing. Like, are we there for interior defensive line? It's going to be interesting to watch. I can't wait to see it. But that's what I'm thinking about as far as like interior on either spot is like, are you drafting the next version, the next full-time starter at either spot if you're going to do it on day 1 or day 2? So that's just a question mark for me.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. I'd probably just wait to see how the board falls. But
Well, it's tough to predict what Brad's going to do.
yeah, he's an enigma, right?
Yeah.
So, edge rusher, this is the first real need, my number one need for the Lions to address in the draft. They've re-signed Marcus Davenport. They've re-signed, Josh Pascal's there. That's not a re-signing, but like they've re-signed guys like Mitchell Aguda was Good. I don't know how you say his name, but he's been re-signed
Mitchell.
this week. Huh?
Just
Who?
Mitchell.
Mitchell,
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So like at 20, once again at 26, if somebody like Nick Skirton, Michael Williams is there, that would be somebody that you could excuse me, start Marcus Davenport and have these guys like ease into the NFL season and get some kind of reps, and then eventually take over when probably next year. And then you'd have a plan in place. But he also thinks we need 2 depth pieces. Gross.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So here's my thing. Everyone wants to mock small, fast, bendy edge rushers. Okay, so at least Joseph has figured out the right kinds of guys to recommend. Props to you, Joseph. Landon Jackson is like 280. Prince Uman Mielen is like 265. So these are a little bit bigger, right around the same size as Hutch. Those are the kinds of guys the Lions want across from Aiden Hutchinson. So they don't want the 6'3", 245, 250 lightning bug across from Aiden Hutchinson. Otherwise, they'd have guys like James Houston still on the roster, and they don't.
Right.
So, like, when I see guys like Mike Green or Donovan Ezraku from Boston College being mocked to the Lions, I'm kind of thinking, like, whomever's making the mock draft doesn't understand the style of edge that Detroit seems to want on the roster. So, what are you doing? I mean, and once again, Joseph, in all seriousness, like, hats off on those two guys. Like, if either of those guys was there at 60 or maybe even 45, I would be interested in going to get one of them. Princely might be there at 60. So, but what do you, Mike? So let me ask you this. We've had Josh Pascal out there. We've had Jod Kaminsky out there. Now it's Marcus Davenport's turn.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that any of those guys, even if they're good players. Yeah, and so like a healthy Davenport, when are we going to get that? That would be great. But like, what would you do? Would you stick with trying to find the next guy that looks like that? Or would you switch it up and be like, no, let's get a lightning bug in here?
To be honest, Kaminsky, and obviously Davenport's been hurt, so I can't include him in there. James Houston, though, none of those guys were difference makers.
Right.
So none of them moved the needle. None of them were difference makers. None of them were good enough to do what we needed to do. I'm fine with getting another quick, twitchy guy on that side, but he has to be a difference maker. I don't expect a second Aiden Hutchinson over there, because that dude was rolling toward Defensive Player of the Year until he got hurt, and like by a large margin. So I don't expect like to have 2 potential DPOY guys over there, but if there's a quick twitchy guy that can get to the passer in that kind of a way, I would do it. Trade, switch it up. I just need somebody that moves the needle. I don't care if he's a big beastly guy that just shoves his way in and sets that edge, or if it's a quick guy that runs around. Just we need somebody to get pressure on the other side to take the focus off of Hutch and give the offensive line and their play calling scheme a little bit of something like, oh, well, on this play, we do what we can to stop Hutch. Oh, on this play, we're going to do what we can to stop Hutch. That's all they have to do. We need something to take their mind off of the game plan of do what we need to do to stop Hutch. And I don't care how that player looks. We just need to find him.
Breaking news: Mike finally admits to wanting beastly dudes. So it's been rumored for weeks, but now we have confirmation. Well, all right. Moving on to linebackers. Here's the thing about linebackers. I have been super under the entire Brad Holmes regime. The linebackers have felt like mismatches, and it's as close to set in their roles going into this year as it's ever been. But even now, it's not perfect. So I don't want to draft linebackers especially in first round. Day 2, yeah, sure, fine, not a problem. But like day 1, no. So like you have Will, Anzalone, Mike, you've got Campbell, Sam, you've got Barnes, right? So Sam is supposed to be like your fifth pass rusher. Like, and the Lions, oh, dude, Carson Sweat, you guys are on fire right now. Like, I love you guys in chat right now. You guys you're bringing excellent recommendations. Carson Schlesinger from UCLA is the absolute second coming of Alex Anzalone. Like, if you wanted to, let's say Carson Schlesinger sitting there at 60, if you took Carson Schlesinger, you can let Anzalone play out his last year on his deal, and then Schlesinger's just the guy, and Anzalone walks into some coaching role on the Lions staff or whatever. But you have Anzalone, Campbell, and Barnes. Barnes is not a perfect pass rushing linebacker. You know, he's more of a Mike. You know, and then they tried Campbell at the pass rushing linebacker spot his rookie season, and it looked like he didn't know what he was doing because he's never played that role before. You know, and like in Anzalone's first year on the team, they had him play Mike. Well, he's not a Mike, he's a Will. So like they've had these guys play out of their roles, and they had so many other needs on the team to address that they just didn't get to it until basically 2 years ago when they drafted Campbell, and they could finally shift Campbell over to Mike last year. Right. And now Anzalone's locked into his best role. Campbell's locked into his best role. And they have Barnes, who can be a Sam, but he's not really a Sam linebacker. Ultimately, what I would like to see is something like Anzalone backed up by Rodrigo, Campbell backed up by Barnes, and draft an actual pass rushing linebacker. Somebody like Josiah Stewart from Michigan. Yeah, I know. It's another Michigan guy. That's the team that I watch. Shocker. I'm more familiar with their players. But like somebody like Josiah Stewart, you know, 6'2", 245, played edge in college, but is probably the right size for a linebacker in the NFL. Somebody who fits that role, who then can also pass rush. You know, and like that's not who Barnes is in my experience. Like I just keep going back and thinking about the Dallas game like 2 years ago where they got fucked by the refs at the end of the game. Like in that game, CeeDee Lamb had like a 97-yard touchdown catch, and the only reason why is because Derek Barnes couldn't bring down Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Was that the helmet doink catch?
Yeah. No, that was San Francisco.
Dallas.
That
was the Taylor Decker game, right? Dan Skipper, Taylor Decker.
Yeah, that's that game.
Yeah.
And it was like in the second quarter or whatever, but like he's just not a pass rusher. Like he's a Mike linebacker trying to play Sam. So like, can you find day 2, day 3? There's a kid that I liked from Oklahoma State named Colin Oliver, who has he only played 2 games this last year, and they're probably against non-conference teams, but he had a 31% pass rush win rate. That's nuts. You know, like, can you get a guy like that that's like, okay, listen, the only thing you ever do is run at the passer. And that's all we're going to ask you to do. And then now we're going to teach you how to play a little bit of the other linebacker stuff that you're required to do. Like, get a developmental Sam linebacker on the squad. Should have been a safety.
Yeah.
Okay, corners. Mike, good news. Kendall Vilder's a Buccaneer.
Couldn't be happier.
Couldn't be happier. So
couldn't be happier. Sorry.
No, yes, you have a wonderful singing voice. So
that was my best Ariana Grande.
Well, she has maybe the best
Wicked.
voice on earth. So, yeah, she is a wonderful singer. But I think Terrion Arnold is your number one. He's going to take the best wide receiver on the other team every week in man, because that is what they had him do as a rookie. And I think
that's why they drafted him.
Right. And I think DJ Reed is going to be the best number 2 corner in the NFL next year, because he is capable of guarding ones, and he's going to be asked to guard twos. And I think he's going to eat them alive.
I hope so.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We need that.
Yeah.
Our secondary is one of the weakest parts of our team for the last I've been alive for 47 years.
Darian Porter, I believe, is a cover 3 corner. So he's primarily a zone guy. He's enormous. He's like 6'4", 205, 210. Like, he is an enormous corner. But I think that he's more of a zone guy. If he can play man, then yeah, Darian Porter's great. But I just, per his PFF grades, I don't see it. I haven't watched him play. But there are some guys that I think, okay, here's a guy. End of round 3, 102. If Noel Williams, cornerback from Cal, is on the board, I'm running to the podium. That dude looks like a lion already. Like NOHL Williams from the University of California. To be honest, I would draft Cal's entire secondary this year with day 3 picks if I could. I mean, like, they have a safety that I think would be a perfect backup for Brian Branch. I love Noel Williams. There's a kid from UCF named Mike McManus or Mike McWilliams or something like that. I think he would make another good Kindle Vilder style replacement. I do think the Lions are going to bring back Khalil Dorsey because he's their best gunner on special teams, who can also play corner. The thing that I think is going to be interesting is that at pick 60 and maybe even pick 102, there could be a starting caliber corner or secondary player. I'm thinking like Kevin Winston from Penn State, who got hurt this year, whose 2023 tape looks amazing, but they have no 24 tape. And for whatever reason, scouts seem incapable of going back one additional year to look at a player. So can somebody like Ben Morrison from Notre Dame, or maybe even Siobhan Revel from Eastern Carolina, Coastal Carolina, or somebody like Noel Williams be there for the Lions on a day 2 pick to add depth to the room, but also like somebody that could legitimately develop into a starter? That's what I would be looking for here. I know you've had your love-hate with the back 7 of this team. So what would you do, Mike? How aggressively would you address the cornerback position this year? You're on mute. What are you doing?
Yeah, I was just like, I'm muted. I coughed a minute ago and tried to mute it so I didn't blow everybody's eardrums out, and then I left it there.
Nice.
Like an idiot. So our biggest problems in the secondary have been around injuries, right? We tried to address it. Everybody got hurt. We tried to address it. Everybody got hurt. Well, that sucks. I think we've got our number 1 corner in Arnold. We got our number 2 corner, like you said, with Reed. We've got Branch and Kirby at safety. I think we've got a couple guys with like Amik Robertson. Like, I think we've got decent guys there. I think we just need to be healthy. Sure. That is the biggest difference in our secondary this year will be strictly around the health of our guys. If we're not playing depth dudes like Kindle Vildor, then we're probably doing way better than we did last year. That said, I do think that getting some depth there, I'm not sure is Amik Robertson a long-term starter quality guy. Rakestraw, he didn't get much playing time, but he's a draftee last year. Is he going to be a starter quality guy? We don't really know. So I would probably, outside of edge, like we talked about, that's probably our biggest need is edge. I think this is probably our second biggest need. Maybe guard, offensive guard, but I think from a position of like we need it. We've got guys that could play guard, right? We got Glasgow. Like if we're not super hard up for guard, but I would say that edge, guard, and cornerback are our top three, and not necessarily in that order.
Sure.
So yeah, I'd go after it.
Okay. So and then safety. So like obviously, as you just said, Branch and Kirby are the entrenched starters. How many roster spots are open? I don't know, 0. I mean, like if you ask Brad, I think that he would say we have a team that we can put on the field, by the first week of April.
Yeah.
That he would feel comfortable putting on the field. So my answer to Joseph's question, which I'll just throw up here on the how many roster spots are open? None. There's none. Because the team, like, and as Mike alluded to, like, if this team was anywhere near healthy on the defensive side of the ball last year, like, we don't know what had happened. Like, we all want to say that it would have been better, right? And it probably would have been. If the betting favorite for defensive player of the year didn't go down week 6, like he might have been defensive player of the year and set the sack record. So I mean, he was on pace to annihilate. I think he was on pace for like 30 sacks.
It was a lot, and he ended up with 60 pressures, and the league leader at the end of the year had 88.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just fucking. Now we should say he didn't play.
He was going up against backups and
the whole 6 weeks, but like, he's supposed to do that.
Right.
That's what he's supposed to
do.
We're
in a couple of those teams, I think we played a second time, right? We played at least one of those teams a second time because they were in our division.
I played the Rams, Bucks. He broke his leg against the Cowboys. The only teams you play twice are the divisional opponents.
Did we play? I thought we played one of our division. Maybe not.
Back half of the season, right? So doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway, he was on a tear to have one of the best statistical seasons a defensive player ever had in history, right? And went down 6 games in. Real bummer. Yeah.
As far as safety is concerned, like I think that you're probably going to pay Kirby Joseph top of the position money, $15-16 million a year. Branch is going to get paid when next year when he's up. And then, so what I would be looking to do now is I wouldn't mind putting a couple of day 3 picks into let's find a coverage safety, let's find a hitter, and these guys can be the backups on rookie deals to the 2 guys that you extended for the next 3 or 4 years. And like, I love this dude from Cal. I don't know what his name is. I thought he was really good. Malachi Moore from Alabama might be somebody that you might have to trade up for, top around 4, back around 3, somewhere like that. But somebody, you can probably get a starting caliber safety in round 3. And now that we have that comp pick, I mean, that's one less thing,
Yeah.
So
I would go after it if there's somebody there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the way that Brad has addressed the free agency, and we're 1 week into free agency, I think Brad has he's already done something more than what I thought he would do, which was sign DJ Reed. So a day 1 pick, 3 in the afternoon. I mean, I didn't see that coming, but like,
right. We talked about that going in. Like, we're not going to plan on something crazy happening early on.
Exactly. And like, I think it's very telling the guys that they have resigned to the roster. I don't expect them to spend much more on players who were not on the roster last year. And if they are, it's like contract minimum type of guys, like this 4th round or this 4th string tight end from the Jets, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think they're pretty much done, which I mean, they'll probably get a 1 on the exciting scale for free agency, but then like we just had a 15-win season, so I don't fucking care. Give me another 15
Right.
win season, and I don't think they'll have another
Well,
15
you're
win
so far
season.
ahead of everybody else, you don't need to make
Yeah,
major moves. In fact, it's harder to make major moves because there's fewer people that can actually supplant existing starters.
exactly. That's Mike. What a great way to say it. That is the perfect way to say it. Who on this roster are you looking at and saying like, oh, if we could get this rookie, or oh, if we could get that free agent, they would supplant this guy in the roster? Is it hard, is it easy to replace
And doing it in a
Marcus Davenport?
meaningful cap appropriate way.
Exactly.
Like there are guys out there like, oh, you could upgrade here, but the way that you do it is by overpaying for the thing that you're going to upgrade with. And is it worth it? Probably not. Right? So it's really about, can you upgrade in a cap appropriate way and in a meaningful way. If it's a lateral move and you have to pay more, that's not an upgrade. If it's a very slight upgrade but you have to pay a lot more, no, you don't do it.
So we've got some. I guess what we'll do, Mike, and then let me know when you need to jump off here. But like, we've got some. Now this is March 14th, so some of these guys are gone. But like, we have some guys still available out on the open market. Like, do you want to sign Tevin Jenkins to be a backup guard? I don't. Do you want to sign Mike Hilton to be your backup nickel corner? I don't. We talked about
Yeah.
Keenan Allen. What about Von Miller, Mike? Would you sign Von Miller?
Man, whose job is he taking?
No one's. So here's
Davenport?
what I would say. You would say no. So like, Davenport's going to be the starter. He's, as long as he's not hurt, he's going to get the lion's share of the minutes and snaps. But like, Von Miller would be like a dedicated passing down edge rusher. So he's not. Let's say he plays 400 snaps a year.
So he would be the trade out Davenport for Von Miller on dedicated passing downs.
Yeah, he might even be something like, you take Davenport out, you switch Hutch over to what Davenport would do, and you bring in Miller to like the side that Hutch vacated.
Yeah, I don't think that's an improvement to what our current strategy is. So
Right.
and
so like,
I'd say no.
What about Brandon Scherf? He's a guard. He played in Jacksonville. He's basically the same philosophy as signing Kevin Zeitler last year. So would you bring in an established veteran? Let's say it's a 1-year deal for like $8 million. Would you bring in that
I'd
guy
consider
right
that.
now? Okay.
I'd consider that. I think it's inexpensive enough where you could bring him in, have it be a camp battle with Glasgow or Manu, and see who wins. And if he doesn't win the starting job, you're not out that much money. I mean, $8 million versus a cap of $256 million or whatever the cap is right now, you're talking a very small percentage. But if he can come in and play like Zeitler did, I'm not sure Manu's going to be able to do that, or Glasgow can outplay that. So I would rather have him on the field probably than Glasgow. So
Sure.
I'd probably do that if the price was right.
So if Justin Simmons was willing to back up Kirby Joseph, do you want another reclamation project and Jedrick Wills on your roster? Do you need no. Matthew Judon is like, 6'5", 265. So like, do you want another version of Marcus Davenport on your roster? I'm looking at the list and I'm just like, where are the guys that fit what the Lions do? Like, I just don't.
They're
see
just
them.
not there.
Right.
Cam Robinson, he's the tackle from Baltimore? Baltimore?
No, the other purple team.
Jaguars.
He was a Jaguar,
Okay.
and they traded him to the Vikings when Darashaw went down.
Okay, that's right.
Last season.
So, like, is he a guy that we potentially bring in as a depth? He's better than Skipper.
Yeah,
Skipper played poor. If the price is right, I could see doing something like that. But these are all things that we would do after the draft if we still have some things where we're like, meh,
And
I'm
that's
not super keen on it. I don't see any moves between now and the draft.
the only moves I see, like, so I agree with you. Like, I don't think that you added, but like, I do think that there's like some re-signings or extensions possible.
Oh yeah.
So like that kind of thing, yeah. But like, so I think the roster is going to look really similar to what it looked like last year.
Great, we went 15-2.
Right.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, that seems probably not then, Danny. So Mike, I'm going to do a mock draft. You're welcome to stay for it if you feel like you have time to participate, or I can do it myself if you want, whichever.
I will let you do it yourself. I would love to. I have to get up at the pre-butt crack of dawn and drive 3 hours. So I got to be out of my house by 6, which for me, I am still sleeping at 6 o'clock, basically every day of the week. So it's going to be a rough morning for me. So I will let you guys do it. It's been fun talking about the roster. And I'll tune in next week. I'm going to be on vacation next week, guys, so I won't see you guys most likely. If I have to hide from the family, then maybe I'll pop in. But I'll probably see most of you guys in a couple weeks. So see you all, and I'll catch up with you later, Drew.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Get out of here. All right. Now that he's gone. Knuckle crack. Okay, couldn't do it. So let's do a 7-round mock with the Lions. I've adjusted some of these settings. We can go slower if you guys want. If you guys want to try and do trade ups, like this is usually too fast to try and do trade ups. So I'll drop it down one more spot here. All right, let's get going. And start draft. All right, what's going on? Stuff is happening. Don't agree with some of these picks. That's fine. Sure, the Houston Texans are going to draft a running back. Okay, let's see. Well, there's plenty of dudes that I think that we could talk about here. Derek Harmon, Darius Alexander, Jalen Walker, Gray Zabel, Nick Skirton. These are all guys that I think, even Alik Ayo-Maynor is a guy that I think that you would consider here. I guess it just comes down to what's the priority. So I have the Lions' needs as edge, interior offensive line, wide receiver X, cornerback. But cornerback's probably at the bottom of that list. The other ones are debatable. So if you draft Derek Harmon, if you draft Darius Alexander, you're committing to this is probably your backup to Levi Onwuzurike at least through the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. And then eventually Aleem McNeil comes back. So this guy is probably the Levi Onwuzurike replacement, having him on the roster, and then probably the primary backup, 3-tech, to McNeil until McNeil's extension is done. Well, McNeil's extension is 4 years after this year, so basically the next 5 years. So you will have this guy on the roster potentially as long as you will have McNeil. So what am I bid here? Where am I going? Am I going interior guy like Harmon or Alexander? Which one do we like best? Am I going Jalen Walker as a Sam linebacker? Nick Skirton, he is your Marcus Davenport style edge. Do I invest in locking down that position for at least the next 4 seasons? What about Gray Zabel? He can play anything on the interior. Also, let's see, probably still on the board. Tyler Booker is here because for whatever reason, he's ranked 48th on PFF's board, which I don't understand at all. Because I'm thinking he could go as early as 13th pick in the draft. So what are you guys thinking? Because I would probably pick Skirton just because it seems like you're solidifying one position where there is nothing there right now. Like there is tight. Shut up, Hatters. What are you doing, dude? That is ridiculous. I love Colston Loveland, but like the Lions are not drafting Colston Loveland. You want Booker? Interesting. Oh, so okay. So if we go Booker, then the I like Mahogany. I think Mahogany is going to work out. So if you go Booker, you have 2 guards on the roster for the next 3 years on rookie deals that might, and the offensive line might literally be the best offensive line in the NFL over that stretch, especially like in 2026 and 2027. You like skirting. You also won't be mad at any offensive lineman. Danny, if you're still listening, you can chime in here too, son. Can't really go wrong here. That's a good point. Is this the time to do something crazy? Like, is this the time to invest in somebody that's not even on the radar, like a Colston Loveland, to just be like, we have this pick to play with? Do you think that this is a pick to play with? You would hate if we got the kid Elijah Arroyo. Dude, that guy's fine, dude. I like that guy. Okay, I'm let's see. Oh fuck. No? Okay. Why can't I not get back? Oh, because it's over here. Okay, I'm going to take Tyler Booker. Can you guys see the... Okay. Okay, so we have now the offensive line is probably going to be either Booker's your day one starter, or he's like your primary backup to left guard, and he's the starter in 2026. Okay, so now Danny's... Oh, look, we got some interesting choices here. We've got Darian Porter, who's an enormous cornerback, 6'4", 200. Oh, he's a wide receiver turned corner. That makes a lot of sense. Does not have a bunch of experience at starting corner. Handled fairly easily against pulling offensive linemen and tight ends while they're bigger than he is. So it looks like he's just lacking... Ooh, Zion McCollum is his comp. Ooh, I like Zion McCollum. Punch and press can be a bit mistimed. Well, I think that all that comes with experience. We've got... I like Ben Morrison. I like Josiah Stewart. I like Jordan Birch. Let's click on Jordan Birch here for a second. So good grades, better pass rusher than run defender. In fact, his run stuff rate's not very good at all. 6'6", 295. So this is your backup guy that plays on the edge, right? So let's see where he took his snaps. He took most of his snaps outside the tackle. So he is more of a... He can play outside, is the point. He can play outside if we want him to. So I've got an enormous, inexperienced corner. How big is Jared Ivey? Oh. He lacks the speed and lower body flexibility to be a speed threat as a 4-3 defensive end, so his best fit is likely more inside for a 3-4 that would maximize his special strength. So that's kind of what they want him to do. I'm leaning toward this Ivy kid. Talk me out of it. Birch sounds right. Edge. Okay, well, I'm going to go with Ivy just because he seems like he has less downside than Birch, but it's effectively the same idea. And Joe, you can't get mad because I took Booker. All right, so now our pick's going to be in the back end of the third round. Oh, there goes Birch. Please, I don't want Noel Williams coming off the board here. No Williams. Oh, Ratledge just went. Okay, what do we bid here? Andrew Makuba had a great year at Texas. Jared Wilson would be an excellent backup to what is our bet? Frank Ragnow. Oh my God. Quindarius Robinson is somebody that could also probably be a Sam linebacker for us. I will not draft Will Howard. I don't care. And then somewhere on this list is Noel Williams. This guy, talk about a prospect crush for me. 6'1", 200. Williams is a strong press man cornerback whom an NFL team can feel comfortable putting on the line of scrimmage due to his physical coverage style and run defense skills. His long speed and agility appear to be average, but his strength stands out in this class. He has a mid-round projection, could be a starter in a man coverage scheme. I mean, does this Jalen Jones, that's the guy from the Bears. I mean, like, does this not sound like a Detroit Lion? Oh, thank you. I didn't want to piss you guys off. So we could go cornerback. That's my prospect crush. If you want the value, we could be backup center, backup safety, developmental Sam linebacker. Jamari Caldwell, he could be a DJ Reader replacement, 6'1", 340. Caldwell brings intriguing quickness on top of ideal size for an NFL nose tackle. He likely won't be a big backfield presence, but he can be a good rotational nose tackle in an odd front defense. Now, we don't run an odd front defense. We primarily play out of the 4-3, but shades of Chris Baker. I mean, cons, plays on the ground. He gets knocked to the ground too often. Block shed ability falls off quickly after his first move. Noticeably short arms make it tough for him to get off blocks. Higher than ideal missed tackle rate. Short arms limit him here. So, like, I don't know. I mean, I know that DJ Reader is a great run defender with pass rush upside. Caldwell sounds more like a dude that's like, I am a good run defender. CB or center. Would he be in the slot or on the outside? Noel Williams, Danny. The kid from Cal would be, in my opinion, he would occupy the same role that Ennis Rakestraw has right now. So primarily an outside guy, but like maybe he's a slot. Maybe he's your dime man defender. If you ever play dime, maybe they could play dime. You know, maybe they don't want to because they have Kirby Joseph and Branch out there. But like, if you ran, so what would that be? Terrion Arnold. You probably play Branch as one of the corners in dime. You would have Reed out there, and then can he beat out Rakestraw and Meek Robertson to be like the fourth corner? Or I mean, like, I don't mind Jared Wilson from Georgia to be a backup center, but is that too rich to invest a first round pick in a guard and what were we picking here? Third round pick in a backup center when our defense was awful? Not awful, but I mean, like, unfortunately destroyed. So I think I'm interested in Andrew Makuba, Robinson, Caldwell, or Williams. So of those guys, who are you guys feeling? So Hatters votes for corner. I could see drafting Caldwell. I mean, Reader is in the last year of his deal, and you're going to need somebody to play there. And like, who do you have? Wilk Liams. I think Hatters is having a stroke. Sounds like a Brad move to zig instead of zag. It's true. I honestly don't know what to do here. You're like, okay, Hatters likes Williams. I let Joe pick one. I'm going to let Hatters pick the guy that I like. Thank you, Hatters. Appreciate that. I can't wait until someone starts a draft board that factors in the team and the drafters' tendencies along with it. Okay, so we've got Willie Lampkin, who I think is just a hilarious prospect. The guy grades out super well. He's 5'11", 290. Everything else about him makes sense. If he was 6'3" and weighed 300 pounds, he'd probably be a first-round pick. I mean, so he has played left guard, center, right guard. He has a zone grade, which is what we do, of 90. He is an excellent pass blocker, and I think it's because he gets such good leverage. But I just don't know if like a dude that is 5'11", 290 is going to hold up, over the course of an NFL season. Jack Kaiser would be an excellent backup Mike linebacker. Savion Jones is another huge defensive end. 6'6", 280, 21 years old. Who else? I like Tyler Batty from BYU. Luke Condra, would be an excellent like guard pick if we don't go. Say we didn't go Tyler Booker in round 1. This is a guy that I would be looking at. Condra's athleticism and measured approach to the game give him a floor for a solid zone scheme backup and an average starter ceiling. The end result will depend on his ability to play with better pad level and flexibility, which you can develop in him however long that you want. I thought this guy measured at the combine like in the top 15% of guards as far as like his physical. Like I don't know what his RAS score is. That would be something that I would look at there because it interests me. So here, I think I'm going to stick with defense, and I'm going to take this kid from Notre Dame, Jack Kaiser, 6'2", 230, 24. That's kind of interesting. Let's see. Good run defender, good pass rusher. Maybe he's even a Sam, developmental Sam. Excellent tackler. Mostly plays in the box, does a little itty-bitty bit of some other stuff, but he's a backup Mike, maybe your backup Sam. I'm just going to take this kid. And now, welcome to Detroit, Jack Kaiser. So now we've got like one pick here in the 6th round and then 2 7th round picks. So at this point, I'm just looking for like some kind of trait that I can use probably on special teams. And then develop into something else. That probably Emory Jones would have been a nice pick as a developmental tackle. Oh shit, Jalen Smith just went. This kid will be gone maybe as early as the top of round 2. So I don't think that's going to happen. We could take Jake Majors to be that backup center. 6'3", 315. Got nothing here as far as like a scouting report. He has played center the entire time that he's been at Texas. Gotten a teensy bit better, but he is a pass blocking center who is equally good in both type of things that we run. So that's an option. What else? Oh, that's not the guy that I want. Oh, here's a guy, R.J. Mickens. He probably will not be here at this point. If he were here for some reason, it's probably because he's got some kind of like injury or character flaw. Oh my gosh, sorry. Character flaw, but like this is excellent. So he is a coverage safety. So this is your backup to Kirby Joseph. So I'll just take Mickens off the board right now. Mickens. I want the kid from Cal. I hope he isn't gone. Cal's a terrible team who always seem to have good players. Doesn't make any sense. So let's look at safeties again. This guy, Craig Woodson. 6 foot, 210. Coverage, run defense is excellent. Missed tackle, he's an excellent tackler. He's excellent at defending the pass. He has played deep safety in the box and in the slot, so that he covers all three positions. Coverage stops, 11, tied for 52nd in the country. I mean, I don't know why this guy is down here, unless the PFF grading just doesn't match with what you see on film, which is possible, but I'm going to take him because this is the other backup safety. And this is where you should draft safeties. Positional value. Please don't hate on it. Okay, so no more safeties. Who do we have? Edge rusher. This guy, Raheem Sanders, is an enormous running back. He'd be an excellent goal line running back for a lot of teams, but we didn't address wide receiver at all. Are there any wide receivers? Theo Weiss, how big are you? 6'2", 192. Welcome to Detroit. You fit the size and weight parameters of an X receiver. I will probably get eviscerated on the grading. I've earned an award. Sweet. Yep. Isaiah Bond was still on the board. Okay. So we took Tyler Booker. They didn't like that move, even though guard is a need on this team, but they didn't like the fact that he was rated 48th, and we took him at 28. Jared Ivey. Okay, so that's your understudy to Marcus Davenport. Rated the 60th prospect. We took him at 60, and that's an A-. Cornerback, not listed as a need for the Lions. I think you could put cornerback as a need for every team in the NFL every offseason. So they gave us a D for taking a player not on our needs list, 20 picks before he should be drafted. Jack Kaiser, it's an A. We took him at 130. He's the 130th prospect. Linebacker was a need. Once again, they gave us a D for Mickens because they don't see safety as a need. He was the 224th player. We took him at 196. We got a little bit better grade on Craig Woodson, B- for the 229th player at 228. And then we got a B+ for Theo Weiss Jr., 251 at 254. So bottom 22% of all Lions drafts. But if you told me that this is what they got, I would think that the Lions would be in a pretty good spot. Like guard of the future, Dante Thornton. Oh, okay. I'll keep him under suggestion. You like Teddy Buchanan? You get a guy that fits the height, weight, speed profile for the type of dude we want across from Aiden Hutchinson. Scrappy press man corner at the end of round 3 is always probably just a good value. Backup Mike linebacker who might be able to rush the passer. Then we have 2 safeties who are now going to be cheap as shit because we're going to pay them nothing, literally nothing, maybe $1 million a year over their contracts to back up 2 guys who are going to get extended. And then we have a developmental Antoine Green style wide receiver X that we got in the background. So we couldn't address everything. So I'm willing to do one more if you guys want to stick for one more and we do it. We reprioritize what we did just to see how it goes different. Is anybody up for one more? Dun, dun, dun. I'll do one more. Draft now. Okay. New mock. All of that's the same. Enter draft. Start draft. Oh, shit. Well, the speed's way up. Okay, so here we are. Oh, Skirtin's off the board. So here we are again. We can do a 3-tech. interior offensive lineman. This time, just for fun, let's take the wide receiver X. So here's A.M. Maynor, 6'2", 210, size, intelligence at receiver, play strength, and experience against press coverage, make him an ideal X prototype with a talent to become an NFL starter. His comp is James Jones, who I don't know who that is off the top of my head. So let's just say that the Lions are going to focus on offense. Oh, Tyler Booker went on the next pick. That's hilarious. Oh, good. Jack Sawyer's gone. Oh, we could draft Shedeur Sanders. This is ridiculous. We could draft Jared Ivey again, Kyle Kennard, Ben Morrison, Josiah Stewart, Jordan Birch, who we got to vote for this last time out. Chris Paul would be another good linebacker to draft. Jordan Phillips is a guy that I would like a lot to replace Reader, 6'3", 320, compact, powerful defensive lineman. Less than ideal length, but with enough strength to make up for it. Let's see. I don't know who this guy is either. So I'm not looking at chat. We took, the X. So I will take, I kind of want to take Jared Ivey again, to be honest. I don't want to take Cam Skidabo. We did have a vote for, that's not really. I'm going to take Josiah Stewart to just be a Sam linebacker in the actual realm of being a Sam linebacker. And let's see who's left. Oh, Terry Ellis just went. Jared Wilson, there's a pick. Jacob Parrish, Ashton Gelati, who I quite like. Aeneas Peebles would be a good 3-tech. Caldwell. We didn't take Caldwell last time. So let's take Caldwell. Boy, I really like Quinn Ewers. I would like to draft him. Let's take Luke Condra now as our guard. Do not draft Jalen Smith. Do not draft Jalen Smith. Do not draft Jalen Smith. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Shit. Well, there he goes. So they give you nothing. Caden Prather, I think, has the size. Well, we already drafted the next wide receiver. What am I doing? Teddy Buchanan. Do we have a linebacker here? No. RJ Mickens again. It's hard not to draft these guys. So this time, 2026 mocks. Handers, I don't even know how to do that, man. You got a site that'll do a 26 mock? Because I'll hook it up. My sushi already burned. Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. You got to take off, fix the sushi. I love sushi. I would love some sushi. You said Dante Thornton. Oh, but we drafted the wide receiver already. Shit. We drafted Caldwell. Let's take Majors. See how many of my safeties they drafted. There goes Mickens. There goes Woodson. Oh, man. Okay, I'll take Malachi Moore, even though he'll be gone like actual rounds before this. And then we'll take Teddy Buchanan because he went to Cal. I know I earned awards. I'm great at drafting. They want us to draft Charles Grant? Okay, maybe. So this is worse. We did worse. So Alik Alameno, they don't like us drafting. Not a need. This would be a Sam linebacker that they're saying is an edge. They don't think interior defensive line's in need, so they're going to knock us on that one. We got a B- for overdrafting Luke Condra. We got a C- for drafting Jake Majors. I don't know why. Okay, and they gave us an A for getting a value out of Teddy Buchanan. So I mean, like, I like the first mock way better. Hunter Waller. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on him from Wisconsin, right? So, yeah, that could be a really good fit late in like a day 3 pick. I like that. So, like, the whole exercise there on the second one is just to be like, what happens if you go a different direction, right? So I do think that I like the suggestions that you guys are throwing out. Like, I do think that it's like D-line, O-line, how does the board fall? But that's what we're looking at. And then round 2, I do like the idea of like, okay, we're still looking at O-line and D-line, but is there an X wide receiver there? Is there I don't know, some kind of specialized linebacker? Is there a corner? Something like that, And so, as Mike and I talked about, like, we're filling the roster up to 90 guys. So, like, I can imagine them re-signing 3 or 4 more players going into the draft. I think they have 7 picks. So I think we're at 66 guys right now. So if they re-sign 4 guys, that's 70. They go into the draft and they draft 7 players. That's 77. That means they're going to bring in just a baker's dozen UDFAs. So that's right on par with what they have done in years past under Brad Holmes. So, I mean, I think that's what we should expect. And if we're expecting it and it happens, then you know what? You don't get angry at it. You don't get mad that they don't, go out and trade for Myles Garrett and then sign the top free agent on the open market and overpay for that guy. So, maybe not an exciting offseason for the Lions, but I think certainly an effective one. And I'm really excited to get to the draft. Now, between now and the draft, next week, I'll be flying solo. I'm going to take a look at the draft picks from Brad Holmes since he started, see who's still on the roster, who got extended, how long the extensions were, who were the pillars, who were just the support guys, who are we finally going to let go of? We'll go through those classes, talk about their futures a little bit, do another mock draft, and then at some point here between now and the actual draft, probably the week up to the draft, we will do another 8-man mock draft with the viewers. So if you guys want in on that, like, we have a Discord, which I think gets posted in the show notes. Please join and just drop a line saying, hey, this is who I am. I want to participate in the 8-man mock. Like, get me your contact information so that we can actually, like, arrange it. Okay, so we were short 2 spots last time because, number one, Mike's kid Danny sucks and had to go on vacation as opposed to helping us out. And then we had one guy that we couldn't get a hold of. So if you want to be an alternate, if you want to be considered for like one of the divisions in the NFL, like, let us know. We want to develop the community. We want to get you guys maybe from the chat onto the screen. So, just drop us a line. Hope you guys had a good time. I always love the mock drafts. I know there's a lot of enthusiasm for the mock drafts out there. Hatters, if you can find a way to get me a 2026 mock, I will do it. And I don't hate all your takes. Okay, that's good. Oh, that's funny. So I'm glad that you don't hate my takes. All of them. I mean, like, anybody in NFL content anymore, if you can find someone that you can just stand listening to, I think that's a win. So I'm glad that I can be one of yours. So, and then if Adders, may the force be with you too, buddy. Andor season 2 coming out next month. I guess other than that, I hope you guys all have a great week. We're getting closer to the draft every day. And just one pride. Go Lions. Talk to you guys later. Bye.